Who's gonna be the king of the streets? We have the exciting doubleheader coming up, Baku this weekend, and the original night race, Singapore next weekend, my home race. Dude, it's gonna be fun. Who are you backing?
Ooh, good one. I think if I was to put all my money onto one team right now, I think I'm going to pick McLaren. I think that there's everything riding with them. Um, so we can kind of get into
Interesting.
McLaren and because they've had some pretty interesting stuff come out with
Papaya
them.
rules.
Yeah, so they they recently announced that they are going to have Mr. Piastri obey a little bit more with team orders and try to play the team game a little bit more. Um, I heard about this and I was like, I think it's necessary. You need to like the only way they're going to have a
Yeah,
shot is
exactly.
that is if both drivers are competing for basically for just for Orlando to win. Um,
Exactly.
but man, too little, too late. I think.
That's my question, right? Because now the way the standings are there, you have about 8 races to go, which means Lando basically needs to win almost everything, or he needs to hope that, Verstappen has a few engine failures, reliability, or just bad weekends like Monza. But that's
Mhm.
where Monza really is going to hurt them because their indecisiveness. Firstly, it cost them the race win, but importantly, it was a bad day for Max Verstappen, coming sixth, and still Lando could not capitalize on his pole position, which is
Yeah.
the number of pole positions he's had, and he's not led a single lap. That's
Mhm.
really disappointing.
Yeah, I think what's interesting with McLaren is that they on paper they have the fastest car, and I think everyone know all
Exactly.
everyone in the garage knows this. I think the only thing is I think McLaren don't feel like they have
Don't
the
know
fastest.
this.
Yeah,
No, I
they
think they
feel
don't know. Someone didn't give
yeah
them the memo.
they're like the only team that just doesn't believe that they have that fastest car because this is the first time for a lot of these guys, and maybe even for someone
Yeah.
like Zach Brown,
Actually, true.
he's
True.
been in this position for the first time probably in his career, also in being in charge of McLaren. So it's going to be, I think, interesting. I'm happy that we're having some new teams kind of come up, and definitely like McLaren coming up is super super good. I just don't know. Like this is probably going to be like their most toughest period that they've ever faced. But at the same time, this can be literally over within I think 3 races. Within maybe
Exactly.
even two. If Max goes, I don't know, a back to back victory, starts getting podiums, it's over. It's over. I think that, like there's no real chance of Lando
Which
kind
is
of
why
coming back
these
up.
two races are the biggest chance, right? Firstly, they're street races, so they're not like the typical circuit races.
Hmm.
And Red Bull has not been the greatest on street races
Yep.
because Monaco wasn't the greatest. Yeah, Saudi is a different matter. That's a whole different part of the championship now, right? Like that that era of the championship this year, that's over. That's done.
Yep.
That Red
Yep.
Bull doesn't exist. But you're looking at Singapore where they've historically struggled, especially with this car since they
Yep.
got it last year, also was
Hmm.
not that great.
Yeah. Same design.
Um,
Same exact design. Hmm.
Actually,
So.
slightly different design, more like Mercedes. So even I don't know, it just doesn't feel great. Second
Okay.
issue, second issue I feel is so what I'm hearing is Verstappen is having issues in FP2. He was having major issues with his visor and seeing with the sun going down. Now this is interesting because FP2, for viewers who are newer to F1, practice 2 on Friday happens at the same time as the race on Sunday. So it's like the most representative practice session of how it'll be in race
Race condition.
conditions.
Yep.
And because now we're going there in September rather than earlier in the year, it's approaching towards the winter. So the sun is going down faster. It's going to get darker. The track is going to get colder. And
Mm.
Akash, I think you saw some of the clips in Formula 2, for example, the number of crashes that happened in practice today, Formula 1 and Formula 2, with
Yeah.
lack of grip.
If this is the case and the terrible wind conditions that is also anticipated for this weekend, oh goodness gracious, this might be tough, man. I don't know. They also did some new things with the tarmac, right? On for
I
this.
think so. So it's
Yeah.
really low grip because
Hmm.
there's no rubber laid in.
And with all the 90-degree turns and everything that they've got here on this track, it is honestly kind of mouthwatering. But if you're McLaren, oh goodness, this is going to be a super tough weekend if they wanna if they're like literally it's either win or bust. Seriously, win or
Exactly.
Verstappen DNF basically. Yeah.
And the Red Bull looks good because Red Bull has been fast in both the practice sessions, which it hasn't been in a while.
Hmm.
Um, so that's pretty interesting. It's really close. Leclerc finished top of FP2, but he did crash the car in FP1. So, it's
Hopefully not.
anyone's game.
Hopefully not in that same spot with the IM
He
sweeping
ran
for.
wide in that. He ran wide in the castle section, just that he
Oh
didn't crash.
no.
So it was interesting. And the thing is, he went off, and the camera's on him. Then there's a sector one yellow flag, and they switch, and then there's a Ferrari off there. And guys, you can see I'm a Ferrari fan, so I'm like, okay, breathe, breathe. The car is okay. Because Leclerc also almost rage quit the session. He came back. He said the steering rack was bent or something. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's going to be a very tough race. This is going to be a race of endurance. This is
Hmm.
attrition as well.
Yeah, exactly. Um, we talked about Red Bull, we talked about McLaren, maybe Ferrari a little bit. One
Team of
team
the
where I
future.
team of the future. I mean, Aston, Adrian Newey. I still think because him trying to come in and everything, we're not going to get too much yet improvement just quite yet. But yeah, certainly next season they're going to be super super contending. But the team actually wanted to ask you what was Mercedes. Where do they go from
Ooh.
here? Because they've looked strong these last couple of weekends. They've had some strong moments. Lewis has looked good. George has looked a little bit off sometimes,
Off.
but Lewis has looked excellent. And
But
driving.
wouldn't you feel like since the summer break, the last two, three races have not been as good because in Zandvoort and in
Hmm,
even Italy, they weren't on the podium and they didn't qualify in the podium positions as well.
yeah.
So was that like a track specific thing that they
I
won
was
the
gonna
races?
say
Because
that. Yeah, I think for their tracks and for what car that they have, I think they might have almost probably performed at par at where they were kind of expecting. So at
exactly.
least I think that's what's kind of been just keeping their hopes up. But Mercedes, they've got this driver lineup also now coming out next year, completely like two young drivers, basically. I mean, I don't know if you want to consider George a young driver now, but it's debatable, definitely. But it's I just don't know where this season now kind of goes for them. They are, I think their biggest competition has to be Ferrari, and they're trying to take
Yeah.
down Ferrari definitely. You think they have a chance with the couple upcoming races with these street circuits just because of Ferrari's history with it, man?
I mean, Ferrari is the strongest car in Singapore, but it's also, I think, historically the weakest of the lot in Baku, or along with McLaren. So it's going to be interesting. My question is, uh, do you do you see a surprise win in the next two races? Because these races normally give us some new winners. So
Mm.
do you think this is Perez's chance? He's the most successful driver in Baku, the only multiple winner. Do you see any of them making that difference? Who are your picks?
I think if it's my pick, and I'm also going to let the viewers decide who they want and stuff like that. So put it down in the comments of who you guys want to be like, who you guys think is going to be winning and which team do you think is going to have a great weekend. But if I'm going to pick, I think that because with the McLaren situation going on, I think that might create a little bit of confusion. I feel and as tough as it might be, I think Red Bull are going to have a pretty strong weekend here for some reason.
I
I
feel
think
that
Red
too.
Bull, I think Red Bull are going to have a pretty strong weekend. And that's just going to be just a sinking feeling if you're in McLaren. So it could
Or
be
in
over.
Ferrari.
Yeah, or in Ferrari, honestly. Yeah, but I will say Ferrari still. I think with the history that they have on both of these tracks, with Baku and Singapore now coming up, it's history is on their side. It's just the conditions are gonna have to kind of align with that, I would say.
Yeah.
Hmm.
This could be Ferrari's first win in Baku, which could be pretty interesting if that happens.
Yep.
Also, just as we are ending, I'd like to give a special shout out to one of our friends who's also followed the page, Shaurya. So thanks for your support. As always, guys, if any of you give us a follow, just let us know. We appreciate every one of you here. So thanks for that, and we'll catch you soon.
All right, see you guys.